And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Friday morning's flying weather shows the next batch of IFR here with the next big storm coming into the Bering Sea, pushing into the southwest coast here down into Bristol Bay and up in toward the southern Kuskokwim Valley, as well as northward here into toward St. Lawrence Island. Marginal VFR for the remainder of the Bering Sea. Areas of marginal VFR with some IFR here across southern Alaska, and a band of marginal VFR up here along the Yukon River Valley, then westward there to the Kobuk Valley, and IFR northern eastern panhandle. For the afternoon, this zone kind of hangs up along the coast here, makes it now across St. Lawrence Island and toward the Bering Strait, extending down into Bristol Bay and into at least the central Kuskokwim Valley or so, southern areas there, and still some spotty areas of IFR across southern Alaska, otherwise marginal VFR right up to the Alaska Range, and mostly VFR for the interior, all the way up to the Arctic coast. Panhandle improving as well, mostly VFR over the northern three-quarters of the southeast coast tomorrow afternoon, with southern areas marginal, and IFR, that next big storm here coming into the Bering Sea, we'll see spreads quite a bit northward here across the Pribilof Islands and in toward Nunivak Island, extending from about Kiska Island eastward to the Alaska Peninsula. Leftover IFR with the first system that gets nudged eastward here as this next storm comes up, pushes into Bristol Bay, right up into western Cook Inlet, covering Kamishak Bay, Kuskokwim Valley, back out to the Yukon Delta and lower Yukon River valleys. And marginal VFR, some areas of IFR for the southeast interior, and pretty good conditions continue for the central interior all the way up to the Arctic coast. And the southeast coast now, VFR for Saturday morning and the afternoon holds. Good VFR there for the southeast coast up into the eastern Copper River Basin area, and marginal VFR again with some areas of IFR, south central Alaska and along the Alaska Range here. Otherwise, the Kuskokwim Valley becoming VFR. IFR here sliding up to southwest Kodiak Island and along the Alaska Peninsula on the Pacific side. And that big area of IFR out here over the Bering Sea, central Aleutian areas, all the way up to St. Lawrence Island and into the southwest coast. And from there, passes Anatuvik and Atigan, good VFR for the day on Friday. Lake Clark and Merrill, though, IFR, especially on the eastern approaches of both passes and then better out to the west. Rainy, marginal VFR. Windy, starting out marginal, becoming VFR in the afternoon. Isabel, marginal VFR. And Mentasta, looking marginal as well. Tanita, same forecast, marginal VFR. And Portage, again, IFR, especially on the eastern entrance. Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR, trending toward VFR throughout the day and afternoon. Freezing levels at the surface, right across just south of the Pribilof Islands into Shelikof Strait, just off the North Gulf Coast and then down the Panhandle. And icing, maybe a little bit of icing potential slipping up into the southern southeast coast. Areas of isolated moderate rime icing here over southern Alaska, also up over the northern Bering Sea. And much more widespread considerable moderate rime icing coming northward, or that next powerful storm approaching the central Aleutians there, spreading eastward, at least across the eastern Aleutians in the late afternoon hours. And the jet stream here, we've got westerlies at 115 knots turning northwest, up to 140 knots as it crosses the Alaska Peninsula and continues off to the southeast. And we got easterlies starting to diminish a little bit here over the North Slope and Arctic coast, 70 to 80 knots there. And pretty light winds with the main jet south of the Panhandle. 9,000 feet, 40 to 55 knot easterlies there along the Arctic coast continue. And lighter winds over the interior here, as well as the southeast coast. And then that next storm just coming onto the chart at this elevation, southerly winds up to 55 knots into the central Aleutians. And at 3,000 feet, stronger winds still south of the Aleutians, but the whole pattern shifting northward. And that'll be moving in Friday evening, Friday night into the central Aleutians and eventually the Bering Sea. Otherwise, this weakening low here maybe 20 to 40 knot winds there across the Alaska Peninsula, and a couple of band of easterlies on either side of the Brooks Range there, anywhere from 40 to 50 knots. And for turbulence, look for increasing considerable moderate turbulence, Adak and Atka, and then also some moderate turbulence there for the Aleutian Range, Alaska Peninsula in this area, and also with those continuing easterly winds up there crossed from the Kobuk Valley in toward Kotzebue and the northwest coast, as well as the eastern North Slope. Pretty smooth for the Panhandle. We've got that weaker system cutting across to the south there, so it could be a little bumpy there with that